Hello and welcome to today's very badly sunburned edition. Someday I hope to learn to hike in a safe, sane and sensible manner, but today is not that. In this video I want to share with you some tips that I used to learn and to improve my English. So the tip number one is to start learning as soon as possible. I know it might sound a little bit cheesy, but I know some people that would share with me that they will definitely learn the language while only once they will be immersed in the culture. Once they move over, basically, they'll start speaking. That is not going to happen. So for me, I started learning intensively when I was still living back in Latvia. And another tip, and what I did myself, is when you clearly know which country or region you're going. So basically when you're at intermediate level, that you start focusing on that particular accent. So for myself, I knew that I was going to move to Scotland, so I started watching BBC news reports for Scotland so that I can train my ear to really start hearing better Scottish accent. My tip number two is to start listening to music of the country or region you're trying to move to. So if you're really focused on America, you pick some American artists. If it's England, you pick some English artists. If it's Scotland, you're gonna try maybe like for some Scottish, or again just British ones will be fine as well. And you listen to the music and you try to sing along or hum along. It might sound silly, but what it does, it really helps you to learn the right intonation. And when you sing along, the music, the rhythm locks you in and takes you along on a journey at how you should be singing those words properly. And even if you're humming along, this is great too, because as you may notice in your first language, how we start learning the language is that we'll learn its sound and intonation first. As children, we start babbling. There's not much sense, but you can clearly see the intonation is there. You know, the voice goes up and down when we ask a question or when we're talking to ourselves, when we're frustrated. And so the idea is that you try your best to replicate that in English. And it might be a little bit challenging because as adults, we tend to focus more on the message, on what we're saying. And at times, intonation is super important to ensure that we communicate that message very well. Tip number three is to have subtitles on when you watch TV. There are studies showing that when you have subtitles on and audio and text are of the same language, that it aids children learning to read faster. So again, it's amazing for learning a new language. And as for adults, even if it's your first language, having subtitles on is a great cognitive exercise, and I will link those articles down below for reference. Tip number four would be to write down the words you don't know. To explain this, I don't write down every single word I don't know. I only make note of the words that I feel I will be most likely to encounter in the future, or the ones that I've seen a few times before and I'm still not 100% sure what exactly they mean, so I won't be able to explain the meaning of the word to another person. Then I'll write it down, I'll look up the meaning. Also saying that I will write it down, I actually look them up on my phone and then make a screenshot, and I have tons of those screenshots. And some days I'll sit down and I review them. But one exercise I have been doing for years since the middle school, and I'll teach you, I'll share with you what it is. My English teacher at my school, my English teacher taught us an exercise where you would write down a word in English that you don't know, and as you write it, you also pronounce it and you keep looking at it. And so you will write quite a few lines. I used to keep quite a lot of notebooks where I would have all those words written down, like pages. It could be like almost up to a page of the same word. But these days I use my iPad, so I will just be writing it there. I still find this exercise super useful. It helps me to remember. It's good to come back to the list of words in a week, in a month, or in 3 months to employ the spaced repetition so that your brain will really memorize those words. And my final tip number 5, is to focus on accent improvement lessons. I have personally followed quite a few YouTubers that are really amazing teachers, and they really teach you how the muscles work in your mouth so that you can practice and train to pronounce sounds that don't exist in your language in the first place. Also, there's a website, I'll link it down below. It's called forbo.com, where if in doubt, where you're not so sure how to pronounce a word and maybe it's not on Google, then you can go to forward.com, where people have recorded a pronunciation of English, and also I believe it offers French and Spanish. So basically, when you struggle with pronunciation of an English word, you can go in, look it up, and you even get to choose what accent you would like to hear. So for some words, they can be a recorded pronunciation in American, Australian, and British English, which is absolutely great. I hope you have enjoyed the tips I shared here. I have used them for myself to improve my English, and I'm still using them to keep improving my English. And thank you so much for watching this.